the live coming or is there some issue? Okay. Now, okay, this question, this topic, I'm not asking you to by heart anything here. I'm asking you just to observe and ask some questions. Use this article as a tool to ask a few questions. Now, when you read this, Railway Safety Board body gives final nod for Mizoram capital's first rail link. The first question you need to ask is, what is this body? How is it set up? Is it a statutory body, meaning is it created by a law or is it an executive body? If you are not clear, go to the Ministry of Railways and see the organizational structure. Under Ministry of Railways, there must be many organizations, right? Just go and observe the purpose of each organization. See, when the news article says Railway Safety Body, it is doing a certain it is serving a certain purpose. As the name itself indicates, it's ensuring the safety. It's like a regulatory body which will ensure the safety of that region. Okay, so I want you to go back and see the Commission of Railway Safety. Commission of Railway Safety. What is it doing? What is its role? What is Railway Board? How is it different from this? What are the other bodies associated with railways? All the organizations, organizational structure of railways. Okay, these are the things that you need to know. There are 19 railway zones, if I'm not wrong. Okay, in that 19 railway zones, if you take entire country, okay, for example, South Central Railway, Southern Railway, Eastern Railway, East Central Railway, Western Railway, West Central, North Central, something like this. Completely railways are divided into 19 zones. I'm not asking you to by heart them right now, but you should at least know the organizational structure. What does your conventional wisdom say? If you take a look at the GAN in the market, they will say that, these are all banking level exams, knowledge, you don't need to know. But the fact that you are expected to be aware of how railways is organized, because under GS3 infrastructure, you will have railways, roadways, waterways, airways, all of this. The bare minimum as a policy maker that you are expected to know is the composition of that ministry. What will you govern if you don't know what you are governing? Right. So, just go and observe. I'm not asking you to by heart. At least be aware that there is a scenario like this. Go to the Ministry of Railways, check the 19 railway zones, see what is the Railway Safety Body, Commission of Railway Safety, and then you can go to the specific article. Just be aware of the map in the given area. Rest of the details are not necessary. The length of the railway bridge, all that, don't get into that. It's all too much of information for you to remember. But awareness of the problem of lack of railways in the Northeast is something that you are expected to know. That awareness will tell you that it is a problem for economic development of Northeast. And what are the steps taken by the government? Government has recently given a nod for improving the infrastructural scene in the northeast. This is how you are supposed to think. When you are looking at the development of an area, you are supposed to look at it from all perspectives. If I want to develop Ashok Nagar, for example, you need to give everything that a human being requires to survive there. Good housing, all the public amenities, railways, electricity supply, water supply, connectivity, and most importantly, if that place is connected to the economic centers of the city, only then this area will survive. So, what should facilitate this economic development? You should think. And railways, waterways, or any mode of transport is a way of doing that. And this is not just a generic news. And nobody will tell you that you should look at this news item and think all of this. But it is your responsibility to look at this and think of all these aspects. Only when you train your mind to think on a daily basis and ask questions like this, you are going to be different from others, and your ease of clearing prelims will be much higher. Yeah, tiger suspected to be behind latest attack at Ranthambore. Is this a news item that you should by heart? No. The question that you need to ask is man-animal conflict. Why? Where? How to fix it? Are there any case studies that we can learn and apply here? And finally, for prelims level, you need to ask this question: tiger reserves. Now go to the map where this Ranthambore is there. Where is Ranthambore? Any idea? Rajasthan. Are there any other tiger reserves in Rajasthan? Is there any geographical continuity? Let's say this is Rajasthan. Where is Ranthambore? Is there any connectivity to another tiger reserves? Because tigers don't reside only in a certain area. Like, it's not like if there is a geographical continuity, ecological continuity, they will move there also. Any animal lives in a small place because that place is called habitat. It's like their address. They reside there because there are all the necessary conditions like ecosystem services available for the survival of that species there. And in that area, if human beings are entering, it's quite possible that they will become man-eaters, or there will be a rising situation of man-animal conflict, which is a theme for your mains. Okay, so this is how you are supposed to look at this article. You will not get any direct information. Don't look at any headline as a source of information. That is the biggest blunder you will be doing with respect to newspapers. Look at it as a tool to ask a lot of questions and interlink. Do it as a daily practice. Only then you will get better. Okay? Now, a new axis of stability. We have seen the UK, EU, FTA or trade talks happening. We have discussed that issue a few days ago. Now this article, which says that we have to create a new axis of stability, simply put, everything is repetitive in that. The only additional point is, now India is moving towards India is surviving in a multipolar decoupling economy, characterized by rise of right-wing governments. What do you mean by this? Across the world, our economic models are changing. There is a change in science and technology. Yesterday we discussed industrial revolution, IR 4.0. How many of you went back and saw the 3 versions of IR? Anyone? Nobody? I know I shouldn't be saying this, but if you are anyway serious, remotely serious about your attempt, if you don't prioritize the work that I'm giving, you will not be thinking. And if you are just a recipient of information throughout the day, you are not going to clear this exam. I cannot study for you. I cannot teach everything for you. Every teacher will be giving you information. I will be just one more addition to that. What makes the difference? You. You are the difference. If you are preparing for 2026, take down the questions seriously. Only those who can do that, taking the questions, putting some effort. It's okay if you are not able to do completely. At least show that intent. If you don't have that intent, you don't stand a chance in this exam. You will only be disappointing yourself. Don't remain with reasons, okay? So please take this work seriously. And if you're not taking seriously and you're just attending like school kids, you're wasting your time. It's up to you. Now, there are various phases of industrial revolution, right? IA 4.0, which is characterized by yesterday I've told you, rise of digital era, like AI, Web 3.0, all these technologies. So at least today, go back and check what I'm talking about. What is industrial revolution? I'm not giving a new topic. If you go back and see your GS1 syllabus, in world history syllabus, you will see this word industrial revolution. Okay. So industrial revolution is not an alien word. It's not something new. And since it is there in the focus of UPSC syllabus itself, which was designed 10 years ago, 12 years ago, it is still relevant now. You can see a world history question from this angle. Examine the evolution of the 4 industrial revolutions and its impact on global politics. GS2. Examine the impact of industrial revolution. So your traditional textbooks will talk about England, why England was able to, take the advantage of industrial revolution. All that is fine. Recently, there is a book called Why Nations Failed. Recently, the authors of this book got Nobel Prize in Economics. Here, there is a debate about how colonialism, that is a syllabus in world history, is linked to your economy today. See, Europe is very clean, green and neat. Everybody likes Europe. But if you go to a British museum, there is a joke. If you go to a British museum, you are most likely to take a world tour, because they have collections from every part of the globe. Because they have been colonial powers. They looted every possible country in the world and they've built their nation. So if those people come and give us lectures about, how democracy should be taken care of or how institutions should be built, I'm not saying that we should blame them, present generation, for the wrongs did by the previous generation. But we should not discount the fact that the present generation's economic wealth is because of the wealth created by the previous generations and that is passed on to them. That is why in environment there is something called common but differentiated responsibility when you're talking about climate change responsibility. See, when countries have a historical responsibility of taking up the responsibility for dealing with climate change, if they don't take it and they continue to pollute the environment and expect the developing countries like India to clean up the mess. Don't you think this is like what we see in history as dual government? One person is having the authority, one person is doing the actual duty. There is a mismatch. Similarly, in environment also, one country is polluting in one generation, in the next generation, you are again facing a burden of cleaning up the mess. Therefore, common but differentiated responsibility. Let's say we all agree climate change is real and we need to handle that. But one country should not take entire burden just because we are having a larger population or just because we are bigger emitters or growing to emit more. Because we do not have an option. Why are we talking about all of this? Because these are the realities in which we are navigating the world. IA 4.0, climate change, resource constraints, changing technology where jobs are vanishing. On the top, on first level, you're losing jobs. On the top of it, climate is getting harsher. 3, resource constraint. So there is a rise of extreme governments. Right-wing governments means every government is like, say for example, Donald Trump. No globalization. We will not allow people into our country. Okay. They're right in doing whatever they are. Legally they are right. But America as a principle is built on the premise or promise of the land where all your dreams become true, and immigration was the bedrock of economic development. In a free world where capitalism will thrive, merit will take precedence, America offered that promise. They're free to deny anything, but it will have global repercussions because India and many other developing countries are dependent on them. In such a kind of a world where we are marked by IA 4.0, climate change, decoupling of economies, breakdown of global institutions like UN. See, if UNSC is really working, do you think Russia-Ukraine war would have happened? It's a clear-cut case of failure. We should stop pretending like it's not. Israel-Palestine issue is happening from the last 75 years. Did UNSC succeed in any way? They're just namesake, to be very honest. Almost borderline ineffective, except in a few scenarios. So, in this world, how do we navigate? How do we claim that we should strive for strategic autonomy? By bringing together partners, like-minded people. Negotiation. There is this something called DNA approach, dialogue, negotiation and action based on that negotiation. So this article is about that. New axis of stability means when all the institutions across the world are failing, you need to build relations in such a way that they bring stability to the world. And that is the focus of this article. You have had mentioned like all the issues, apart from all the issues that are mentioned, you also have how India and Europe are converging for, global duopoly. Meaning, if India and Europe can come together, the hardware of Europe and the software skills of India can create a digital duopoly where we can serve to the world. The larger vision that I personally believe that India should have is to become the skill capital of the world. Just like how China became the factory of the world, India's greatest strength is human capital. So we should build skills for the world. So when we really say Vasudhaiva Kutumbam, globalization, etc., I believe that the area where we have to invest is empowering people and building their skills so that they can serve the market needs of the world. India is the youngest nation with a large demography, and I don't think we will have any other chance except investing on human beings, their skills, making them ready for the future. And in that kind of a world, I believe India negotiating for a globalized world is very important, because ultimately when I say we are becoming the skill capital of the world, Immigration policies are extremely important. The relations with that country should be good enough, because we want to put people there in those companies, in those jobs, and serve the needs of that country. A case to the point being Japan. Japan's average age is much, much more than India. A lot of people are aging there. Young people do not have work, or I mean, they don't exist in the first place. They do not have work because they don't have necessary skill sets or interest. So the structure of that society is drastically changing. There is a loneliness pandemic. And in this kind of scenario, many opportunities open up for India, and therefore we have to invest on our demography. And for all of those situations, relations with countries, like-minded countries, are important. So when you're dealing with Europe, the biggest focus is trade. But when you're focusing on Central Asian economies, it is not just trade but also security. Focusing on big powers, axis powers, like say for example Russia, US, China, the engagement is a combination of all these factors: economic, strategic, military, right? So in a world where you send out people across the world, you will have diaspora, and therefore it is important for India to also have many more diplomats. In all these scenarios, look at international relations as a whole negotiating art. Diplomacy is about negotiations. What do you want? What shall I give? Look at the article from that standpoint, you will be clearly understanding it. Not really important, we have already discussed this. Yeah. See, this exact article is not important, but I will briefly introduce you to the idea of algorithms based world. For example, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, or any other social media platform, they're continuously collecting data, curating data, learning from your behavior, and also they are now at a stage where they will dictate your behavior, dictate your consumer choices, because it is a slow process where algorithms give you the kind of they understand your mind, and they will give you the kind of content that you will like. Then they'll make you addicted to it. Then they will shape your thought process, and at one point people will stop thinking. I'll just give you a small example. A few days ago there was a survey. That survey said that, okay, if you're watching Netflix, it should be second, according to the writer of that research article. It was found that Netflix wants to promote shows which are second screen worthy. If the word is exactly described, they should be second screen worthy. I do not understand what they mean. So apparently, if you are watching a mobile and scrolling, that show should run in the background. It should not make them stop, think, or demand their attention. Even if they're casually glancing at it, they can understand the story and it can move on. Because Netflix understood that people do not have the ability to focus for a long time anymore. They're addicted to their phones. They're addicted to short form content. Now you have China based apps which are creating shows like serials, soap operas or dramas, like daily serials on Instagram format. And if you take a look at the content that they're producing, a rich guy, a very poor girl, like kind of a love stories which are universally scrollable. Just like how Korean dramas, etc., that's shaping the behavior of the societies, pop culture. So we are in that phase where algorithms decide what is good for you, what is bad for you. Human beings are stopping to think. It's all the more true for UPSC aspirants. They don't question anything anymore. Even an advice given to you, they don't think if this is applicable or not. They're busy taking notes, they're busy chasing materials. Nobody is asking this question. What does this exam need from me? Right now, when the results are out, a lot of people are very emotional that our exam is not cleared. Only a few people were thinking what went wrong. The ability of a person to be not emotional in the face of an adversity and think is the characteristic trait of greatness in the future, because almost every human being will be a slave to this algorithms, even I, you, everyone, if we allow it. So make it a habit to resist this algorithmic content delivery. How? Don't accept anything. Question and be curious and take a look at the data. When you say data, look at the sample size. If I take a survey of 2 people and say that 100% of the aspirants who aimed for this exam did not clear this. Sample size bias. There should not be logical fallacies. Logical fallacy means a gap in your logic. Do not be emotional. Do not be slave of your algorithms. Okay? Think. To whatever extent possible, think, question and seek answers. Net will give you the very same Google search or AI systems will give you the answer, but only if you ask the right question. The future is not for the people who have the ability to by heart answers. The future is with the people who have the ability to ask the right question. In simple words, ask a better prompt in ChatGPT. Everybody is having ChatGPT these days, but not everybody has the mind to question, think and make it a mainstream process in their day-to-day life. Scientific temper. It is your duty. I am not saying this. Article 51A says this. It's your duty to have that scientific temper, to think, question and develop the attention span that everybody is losing today. Okay? Now, this article is a repetition of whatever we were discussing on May 6th, Operation Sindoor, etc. So, what is the takeaway? Here, they're giving a history of drones. Drones are not some new phenomenon. They are existing from World War times. And you will see that they were used in recent warfares also. Like say for example, recently, how many of you remember the story Trojan War? Where, do you know the Trojan War Troy story? Horse, exactly. Okay, I'll briefly tell you a story. In Greek mythology, you will have 2 sides. I will not go into the details and the names. There are 2 sides. Okay. So, one side prepares a gigantic horse, wooden structure, and gives that horse as a gift to the enemy. They say we are stopping the war. As a gift, take this wooden horse. The enemy accepts. Once that horse is inside the territory, people come out of that horse, attack the city and take over that city. You will see a malware named as Trojan for this reason. Malware means virus attack in your computer. Okay. Similarly, a swarm of drones were imported into Russia through a truck, Russian truck. Somehow they managed to smuggle the drones into Russian territory, Ukraine. And they carried out a very sophisticated planned attack called first person view. Just like how a vlogger will have a camera here and is walking and you will have a point of view camera. They use something called this first person point of view drones, where they will be looking at, it's like your eye itself. They attacked soldiers directly. So this is an allegation that this is a war crime committed by Ukraine. The reason why we are talking about all this is recently, take a look at any warfare. You have this Armenia, Azerbaijan, Nagorno-Karabakh. It's an issue. You don't know that probably because you have not been preparing, but this article mentions that. There is a region called Nagorno-Karabakh, Nagorno-Karabakh in the border between Armenia and Azerbaijan, two countries in Central Asian region. So historically they were fighting for land. See, any conflict in the world today is about two things only. One, land. Two, mind. Either they want to occupy the minds and the mindsets of people, or they want a piece of land because there is something beneath that land. Power control is about these two things only. First, they will go for a physical attack. If it is not working, they will go for a mental attack. So warfare is not just physical, it is also ideological. So be careful about these things. Algorithmic bias can create ideological warfares. Anyway, coming back. Drones belong to the first domain of warfare, the physical warfare. So in that context, there are mentions of how these drones became the differentiating point in all the recent conflicts, whether it is the Yemen war situation or the Gaza Strip. See, take a look at these conflicts, because UPSC has a tendency of asking prelims questions on conflicts in news. All these places and the geographies will become very important. You can go to the channel that geography channel of mine, and see the maps there. There will be a hashtag called places in news. Click on that. You will see a list of all these places. Okay, so you need to know the geography behind it for prelims. And now I'm talking about the science part, that is the drones part. So this drone warfare becomes a question in science and technology, and it can become a point in GS2, international relations. And under that, if you're talking about military dominance, under that, drones will become an example or a case study, just a point only. This can become a complete article in GS3 and a point in GS2. That is how you are supposed to look at an issue. So these points should be by-hearted. And how do you counter the drone threats? And what is India doing on this? The names become very, very, very important. Akash Tir, Bhargavastra, DRDO's anti-drone system, Indrajal. These will be prelims questions, and these should be maintained, and short notes should be maintained on this, and this should be mentioned in your answers. Okay. All these are important. An extremely important article where you just have to read and by heart. Okay. I'll be posting this on the channel today. Go back, check, and note down this information, store it in your notes. So these are the important articles for the day. We have already discussed this, why the census 27 is important yesterday. I'm not going to elaborate again. That's it for today. See you tomorrow.